Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Ravemen UR1700 Sharp Beam Cutoff Bike Headlight. The Ravemen UR1700 is one of the first sharp beam cutoff headlights we've seen from the brand Ravemen. Unlike their previous PR and K series of headlights which had simple deflectors to reduce glare, this one has a true sharp beam cutoff to eliminate glare entirely. Packaging wise, you can see it's similar to the other products, the orange and black color scheme, a big cutout here that actually shows the light and lets you interact with it, and then specs printed on the sides and back. I'll go ahead and open this up and we'll go over the full specs. So retail price on this is $99.95. It's a 1700 lumen light, so quite bright, and it includes a wireless remote. It has a pretty large 3600 milliamp battery, and it also has power bank functionality, so you can use this to charge other devices. As far as what comes with it, you can see quite a bit. So we have the light, we have a plastic out front mount with dual siding, so you can actually put the headlight underneath it and a computer on top. You have the wireless remote. You have a couple adapters for Garmin or Bryton devices, and a GoPro adapter for the tab style mount on this light. You also have the cables. So you have the USB-C to USB-C, which is great for charging another device as well. You have their instruction manual, warranty card, as well as this little battery warning. Now let's take a look at the weight of the light. So you'll need the headlight and then the GoPro adapter to actually use it. So that's 178 grams. Then there's a wireless remote to operate it. That's about 16. And then there also is an out front mount if you choose to use it. It's a plastic construction and it's about 44 grams. Visually, the Ravemen UR1700 has an unusual rectangular shape that's actually designed to be undermounted only. The main feature of this headlight is the advanced aspherical lens, and you can see that really cool curved lens in the center. It has this bronze ring around it, which gives it an interesting look. Otherwise, it's a metal aluminum housing with a backside that feels like it's a plastic cap. You have some basic graphics and cutouts here on the sides that break up the otherwise smooth surface. The USB Type-C charging port on one side with a little rubber cover, and then the main power button with a similar shape on the other that's actually backlit as well. On the top you have the tab style mount with two screws holding it in place. On the bottom you just have basic warnings. It looks a lot like the Magicshine Evo, but with this one, you can see it's more of a flat rectangle. It's pretty big. It's 48 by 38 by 60 millimeters, which is 1.9 by 1.5 by 2.4. So definitely a more bulky line. That's because of this lens design. And mounting wise, it's pretty simple. It's a tab style, so top only. You're not supposed to flip this. It's a directional beam that actually has a sharp beam cutoff. So if you flip it, it's more glare. So definitely don't do that. To actually use this, there's a little adapter. So you can see you slide that on there. It has a little tab that goes into that slot. And then you have the GoPro adapter. And the idea is you would just connect this to any out front mount, so nothing special here, and put that underneath your computer for a kind of slick look. And the nice thing is it's undermounted, where it really should be. You don't want the light on top like with the traditional lights. Instead, you want your computer on top for a clean look, and then the light hidden underneath it. One of the most interesting parts of this light though is the lens design. So unlike their basic vertical and horizontal diffusers with other products that have like LED and a diffuser, this one has this curved lens, and you can see you have an outer protective one and then another inner one. And that's really supposed to direct the light downward and eliminate glare. So when you're riding, you can see there's no glare and you get this very sharp beam cutoff. And that's exactly what you want. So if you're a pedestrian here, you're not going to be blinded because your head's above that line, unlike normal lights, which are just more of a cone shape and will blind you. You'll notice there are definitely artifacts, so that's one downside of this lens design. You can see the yellowing on the edges, and they have a low beam and a high beam. So with a low beam, you get that kind of sharp region on top, and then you have the lighter one there. A cool trapezoidal shape, so you'll see with the riding footage, you get a nice wide beam. And if you go into the high beam mode, it adds a second band on top, which is good for seeing further down the road, but obviously adds glare. So you want to reserve that for areas where there's no traffic. But it's very nice. It's not STVZO certified, which means they have flashing modes. It's brighter. And the only downside of this light design is there's no side visibility. So there's no cutout because the whole lens is kind of inset. So you can see from the side, you just won't see the headlight. So it would have been nice if there was a cutout or secondary LED here. The user interface on this is pretty simple too. So power button. Pressing it once will show the color. And like most of them, this one's pretty basic, just a 3 level. Anything above 45%, I believe, is green. Below that, it'll be red and it'll flash red if it's under a more critical level. Holding the power button turns it on and off. Pressing it will cycle through the modes. There's 2 levels, essentially, a 2-level menu. You have the high beam mode and low beam mode. And there's a couple settings in the high beam mode, just a couple constant modes. And in the low beam mode, you have the low, medium, high, as well as the eco mode, and then a flashing mode, which is convenient for daytime riding. There's also a remote. So pretty simple design, 2 buttons. It's prepared from the factory, so it should just work. So with this one, you can see if I hold the button, turns it on and off. Pressing it again is equivalent to pressing the button there. I'll cycle through the available modes. The top button will go to the full power mode, and double tapping the bottom one is the same as double tapping on there, so I'll switch between the low beam and high beam. So pretty simple to use, and with the combination of this, you can place this underneath where it's kind of hard to reach that button and put the remote closer. Here you can see the output modes of the light, very distinctive beam shape, but you can see the color artifacts. In the low beam mode, you have the high, medium, low, and an eco, and you can see as the lumens go down, the runtime goes up quite a bit. It's a pretty big light too, so pretty decent runtime all the way around, even if you run the high mode. And there's only one flash mode, and you can use that for daytime with good 23-hour runtime. At the full 1700 lumen, you get 1.5 hours of the high beam, but this one does have glare because it adds a little bit more light at the top. So this is better used for areas that are more rural, but you can see pretty good runtime even in the high modes. The riding footage also looks great. This is one of the higher settings in the low beam mode, and you can see a very distinctive shape, nice wide beam. The GoPro makes this look a little darker than it really is. In reality, it is a little bit brighter. It's not as wide as the Magicshine Evo or HORI lights. It's a little bit tighter of a beam, and you do have those color artifacts. You can see how it's a little yellowed. But otherwise, nice wide beam, and it really lights up the whole trail. The great thing about this, no glare. You can see when you turn on the high beam, it does expose a higher level. But in the low beam mode, you can use this all day and nobody will complain. And that's the nice thing about the sharp beam cutoff. You still have the flash mode for daytime, but you have all the benefits of a sharp beam cutoff. The one thing I will mention is the weight of the light can make the whole light kind of rotate upwards. So you really have to turn that thumb screw nice and tight to prevent that. And that's the downside of this kind of big, bulky, heavy light. It may be too much for your out front mount, so you just have to make sure everything's tightened down and you have a high quality one. One of the most direct comparisons with the UR1700 has to be the Evo 1700 from Magicshine. They're the same output. They have very similar rings. We have the Black Pro version here, which has the magnetic release. But if you look at the standard one in white, it looks even more similar with the outer ring. And you can see the big difference here is just that Magicshine added a little bit of height, and that's to incorporate the mount directly in, which I think makes sense. With the Ravemen, you have to use this tab, but why not make it one piece? And the cool thing about the Magicshine is at least their Pro version has this magnetic attachment. So I think it's a lot easier to access versus the tab release on the Ravemen. So definitely very similar. And you can see the actual light output is also quite similar. So you get the same 1700 lumen output and you get the same artifact. So both of them, you get that sort of top artifact or the edge artifact with the brighter ring on top. So if I get the similar mode, same trapezoidal shape, sharp beam cutoff, so no glare, but at just a little bit different price point and features. Magicshine also has some combo lights, so something like the HORI 1300 Pro. So it actually combines that aspherical lens with the standard one. And that's a nice thing because riding with the sharp beam cutoff, when you go around corners, you don't really see what's happening. It has a sharp beam cutoff. So if you're tilting the bike, you don't see what's coming. That's why it's nice. If you're doing gravel riding or other kind of more rural riding, you'll want more standard beam than the sharp beam cutoff. Sharp beam cutoff is better for commuting or where you have more traffic. But it is a nice upgrade. So compared to the more standard Magicshine lights. You can see this is similar to what the Ravemen also has, just vertical diffusers, total internal reflection LED in the center, and that traditionally just results in a cone, even though it's slightly tilted downward. So definitely a nice improvement. There's also other lights on the market that do this. Light skin's really cool. It's STVZO, even more advanced. So you can see really cool design. This is their NACA. It's supposed to be super aerodynamic. You have less of the artifact, but you definitely see not a sharp, clean beam. Outbound lighting has their own flavor, so top mounted lights. Really huge though, and it has a rear mount. So you can see it has less of the color artifacts, but you have some more artifacts on the side, but a very wide beam compared to the more trapezoidal shape of the Ravemen. There's also the Lightskin U8, which has a more compact version with the dual beam. Trek Commuter Pro, which has the top mounted one, which again has a lot more artifacts on it, but they do have the side reflectors, so that's a really nice subtle feature, and you can control a compatible taillight with this at the same time with the dual battery gauges, which is a really cool feature. But really the best light is something like the Lumen, and you can see very cool glass lens, a lot more complicated daytime running light, but the prices on this are crazy, so you'd have to pay $200, $300 or more. But different beam and a nice sharp beam cutoff, but these can be STVZO and all metal construction with replaceable batteries versus something like the Ravemen or more Magicshine lights, which require just tossing them once the battery dies. What we like about the light is it has an advanced beam with a sharp beam cutoff, so you don't have glare for oncoming traffic. And Ravemen even includes the out front mount and the wireless remote at no additional cost. It also has pretty bright output and nice power bank functionality, so you can get more versatility out of the light. The main negative is the fact that it's quite heavy and it lacks side visibility with the inside lens design. Also, like a lot of these lights, you have a little color artifact at the edge just due to the lens shape. Taking everything into account would give the light an 8.4 out of 10. Has a sharp beam cutoff with high output. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at sweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at The Sweet Cyclists. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.